Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside, the Quarantine Edition episodes. Joining me this evening is Irshad from Craft Tapp. He is the CEO and founder. So thank you for joining us today on our show.
Pleasure to be here.
As we do it on every show, a toast.
Toast.
So just to let people know, I'm drinking actually one of your clients' beers. I have from Spearhead Brewing Company. They're
Nice.
4-session IPA, very crushable, super light. It's got that right level of bitterness for an IPA I like. So, what are you personally having?
Today, I am having the Toboggan Brewing IPA, the Lunatic Fridge. That's what I'm having tonight. It is nice, medium-bodied, and to your point, it goes down easy, especially for a day like today. It's kind of gloomy, so.
We're a little windy here, but it just broke through all the humidity we had the last few days. So
yeah, I feel you on that one.
Yeah. Perfect. So let my audience know, what is Craft Tapp about?
All right, yeah. So Craft Tapp is Canada's first platform that actually facilitates cross-province delivery. Our mission started back in 2018 when we actually started in Alberta, kind of taking part of this craft beer craze that was taken hold of the city and the province at the time. Actually, my dad got me into it. We started going to a couple of his favorite breweries, and I just started to see more of a variety. And from there, we actually proceeded to, or rather, I made a business out of it, just because I wanted to kind of enjoy these moments with my dad. Frankly speaking, we're trying different beers. It was our weekend thing, so it was a lot of fun, something I looked forward to. And obviously, as I kind of got more and more into the industry, I started realizing there's a lot of beers from even more breweries that are coming out that I never even heard of just within the city of Calgary. So we started off as a beer club. Our mission from start till now and till date has been focusing exclusively on local breweries. So that's independently owned breweries, just kind of giving them a platform that kind of levels the playing field here. So we started off as a beer club in Alberta, and then we actually expanded to province of Ontario. So once that happened, we started getting customers from across the Canada saying, hey, how can we get in on your club when you come into our province? And different breweries saying, hey, listen, can we get in? The main kind of component at the time was, and still is rather, is that we focus on one brewery at a time. That's our entire model, is just kind of spotlighting a single brewery at a time and allowing them to put their entire variety in there. So you can imagine that it kind of goes down the list slowly. It's not like an aggregate of like 6 or 7 breweries in the beer club. And that's when it kind of hit us at the end of last year that, hey, what if we created this channel that allowed customers such as yourselves and myself to actually purchase craft beer from different provinces, doing 2 things. One, it get all Canadians involved. It support local within Canada. And a lot of the breweries who never got a chance to get on our beer club, whether it be a SKU issue, just simply not having enough products or being too new, or simply just being outside of Alberta and Ontario, now have the capability to be part of it and to help kind of market their beer. And so we just kind of progressively wanted to do something like that. And COVID, to a certain degree, obviously impacted how everybody shops online more and more. And our model just kind of fits in with that, where our subscription box is still going strong, but now this new Amazon of local alcohol, we'll call it. That's exactly kind of how we're positioning it, minus the warehousing, and that's what we've been working on right now, and it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah. I've always been a proponent of let's get beer between our Canadian borders, or as your hashtag shows, beer without borders. So yes. I'm as a show, myself, my friends, we're big proponents of local.
Absolutely.
Everybody got a GST bonus. For those of us who remain employed, we got a GST bonus. Right. That's to support your Canadian economy. So exactly. The money I got from my GST, to be honest, all went to Quebec microbrews.
Totally fair. And rightfully so. I mean, you're just putting it back into the economy, into these small brewers and small businesses, frankly, that need, to kind of need that extra level of support, especially in a time like today. So I completely agree with you, man.
Before Craft Tapp, were you another name? Because I remember seeing other subscription boxes out of out west, but I don't remember the name of the company.
No, we were always Craft Tapp
okay.
from day one. And our model is just kind of start off as a subscription and then kind of eventually went to an on-demand deliveries kind of product launch, and just not something in our scope. And then we just moved right into the Amazon of local alcohol.
Okay, because I honestly, I found you through an Instagram ad because I was just beer surfing Instagram, and it's like Craft Tapp. I'm like, hey, who's these guys? Oh, cool. Yeah. So, and especially in Canada, you know, with their beer borders, how'd you get around that roadblock?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's obviously it was definitely a lot of work. I'm not going to deny that. And obviously we're still working with each provincial body actually, and their regulatory board, and just kind of working through all the legalities, all the regulations alongside them, and just trying to really show our value proposition in terms of why exactly this is the next best step, especially in light of COVID. So to your point, Carp, I mean, you got that GST check. I mean, you're going to put it back into Quebec microbreweries. And why wouldn't you? And that's exactly what we're trying to convey is, you know, at the end of the day, why don't we allow for individuals to now even ship within the province, but at least to an ability where the money goes back into the province and on a grander scale back into the country. So at the end of the day, that GST kind of just recycles, but it's supporting everybody here. So it's been a lot of, you know, legal back and forth for sure. Some provinces slower than others. I'm not going to drop any names, but some provinces a little slower than others. But for the most part, a lot of, and I respect that. Obviously, they have their acts to follow for sure. And it's just been something that's outdated in terms of when these acts were created. I would actually personally argue now that the internet almost acts as our third arm. It kind of represents who we are, you know, on a larger kind of digital scale, and it just acts as a representative of who you are, but now kind of increases that arm. And so that's, you know, the acts at these individual provinces haven't taken into account of that. And that's something that we're coming in, and we're not trying to circumvent the alcohol boards by any disrespect by any means. But what we're doing is simply direct to consumer. So if you want to get a beer from Ontario, there's nothing stopping you from actually driving into Ontario, grabbing that beer, and then driving it right back, so long as you're within your provincial limits. So we abide by that, and we just emulate the taproom experience online.
Awesome. Yeah, I love hearing that. And I am one of those people, I'm in Montreal, so it's very easy for me to go to Hawkesbury or Lancaster and hit an LCBO and buy some of the more mass-produced guys like Spearhead. They make enough to go to the LCBOs and other Ontario brewers, but there's some that I'm just never going to get access to. And I'm looking at some of the list, and I never see them at the LCBO because either they're sold out or they just don't put their presence in those LCBOs. And that's what I'm talking about is LCBOs, where in Quebec we have, you know, our corner store. We have some microbrews. I think Alberta is the same from what I remember. Is it's kind of like a beer store experience, or is that changed?
It is. It's no, you're 100% right. It's Alberta is like 100% private. So on that front, I mean, people like Superstore and Sobeys and can actually have their own, you know, Costco as well can have their own liquor stores, and you can have, to your point, corner stores as well, like local mom and pop liquor stores. So 100% private, and at that point, it becomes a preference of that individual owner of what kind of products they want to bring to their shelves, in hopes to obviously push those products to the, you know, surrounding area.
Awesome. And so your client basis, I see on the website, says for breweries, do they generally reach out to you, or are you kind of like you and the sales team reach out to the guys you think would join your company?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a bit of both. I mean, you know, as I mentioned, you know, we start off with subscription clubs. So we have great rapport with Alberta breweries and Ontario breweries to begin with. And since then, we've obviously gone nationwide. So we've been actually reaching back out to our partners and, you know, trying to reconnect that relationship, because our subscription was to a point where it was almost transactional. Like, you know, we had a great relationship and there was nothing bad about it. But once the month ended, that was as far as a relationship. And so we just kind of reconnected with those individuals. A lot of them came back on. A lot of them obviously are dealing with their own issues when it comes to COVID and navigating through that. But then to your point, yeah, we reach out to some other breweries as well. So there's actually a few breweries on our platform that we've actually never had on the beer club, but love having them on our store. And then obviously with the momentum that we're getting, a lot of breweries, cideries, distilleries, and wineries are actually now, you know, reaching out to us because of our reach, our scale, and to help kind of move their product in a more cost-effective manner for customers like you and me.
Yeah, and you're sticking with Canadian, which is great because,
You
as
got it.
much as I love, going to Vermont, I'm not far from Vermont. I love going to Vermont. They have a lot of delicious beer. Right now, I'm not going to Vermont, and I'm not going to the U.S. personally anytime soon.
Yeah,
For safety reasons, for my health and such.
of
So
course.
I'm gonna skip Canada now. I know in Ontario, there's some places that have allowed delivery. My province is not. Quebec is pretty much the brewery sells it, or like there's my local beer specialty stores, and then
Right.
there's the Independent Grocers Association. There's a couple of their stores that have really good craft beer selections. I'm assuming they hired somebody to be like, take care of our beer, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, good beer finally again. The concept, though, is something coming in monthly that I've never had before. I love that idea. And you've been around a couple of years. Do you have any problems going to other provinces because of the laws we have, or you're pretty much open across Canada?
Yeah, we're open across Canada. I mean, obviously with COVID, our model has, slightly changed. With the beer club particularly, we actually get the breweries, we kind of give them a rundown as to how it works, and then now we actually work with them to kind of get the products out. So we send the supplies, we make sure, just because, to your point, safety, right? We don't want to, just for the sake of the company, we don't want to, put anyone's health at risk. So we work with them to kind of get the supplies there, and we walk them through just to make sure that they understand what's going on, that we're on the same page. And this way it kind of broadens our ability to now get breweries out of Quebec, out of the Maritimes, Central and Western Canada. Like, everybody's fair game at this point. And so our entire essence, with this has been to just open it up, and Beers Without Borders, of course. And just the beer club has been growing. Obviously, people like having a new Canadian craft beer sent to their door with an array of beers. And then obviously our new model as well. So it's just been something that we've had a lot of positive feedback from customers, from people who are still kind of hesitant, and we kind of understand it's a new model through and through. I mean, Amazon took nearly 20 years to be what it is today. So we understand that obviously it's going to take some time. And so we're ready for that journey, and we're ready to kind of work with the community at the grassroots level to kind of get that momentum going.
Plus, the craft beer or craft alcohol industry is a slower growing industry than like general online shopping for everything, right? But it is starting to take part of that market share. And you could tell with, Molson Canadian promoting the Molson Canadian Independent Beer Box. Molson sees where that is, including their 6 Pints division, where they're going and they're buying your local craft brewers.
Yes.
So,
yes. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I think the craft beer movement personally, statistically, it was always like, hey, you know what, we own X piece of the beer market or what have you. And I think it's only going to get bigger and bigger because people are being a little bit more aware about, especially in a time like today where it really puts the scope of supporting local, whether it be breweries or whether it be clothing stores, eateries, just the scope of supporting local more in the spotlight. And I think we're just going to see that trend kind of develop more and more, that, hey, if I have, a few bucks in my pocket and I really want a beer, which way am I going to go? The local route or to the mass kind of corporate side? So you're 100% right. I do feel that, I don't want to disparage, obviously, any company, but I do think that this is an opportunity to get craft breweries engaged using such a resourceful platform, which I do give them credit for. But that wouldn't work with our particular vision and our model. We've been craft beer and local craft beer, that is, from day one. And whether it's Canada Day or not, that's our focus every day, all day. So it just felt right to kind of keep that focus there.
Well, I've even seen the Instagram and Twitter verse of they've gone out and said, hey, congratulations, we want your beers in our box. And these independent guys are like, no, thanks. I'm fine on my own. I don't need your help, which I love hearing that, because it's like, I don't need you to succeed. Exactly. You're the big boy. And technically Molson is not a Canadian company anymore. It's a publicly traded worldwide company,
Yeah.
Where all these guys and yourself, we want to stick to Canadian.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And I think that momentum is going to come. And that's just what we just got to keep working on together.
I'm the same way though. I'll never disparage another country's local. Like if I could get, a local craft brewer from Mexico, Texas, and California, cool. As long as they're local and I'm helping their states more than them on a federal level. And it's the same thing here in Canada. It's a lot easier for me to get beers in Quebec and Ontario because of where I live versus finally I'm going to be able to get beers from Alberta, BC, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia because of yourself. And that's just a start. I'm sure you want to hit Manitoba and all the other provinces that you're missing. So even I don't know if I think there's one brewery in the territories that have recently opened. So who knows, maybe that's a good way for them to get their beers out to the rest of Canada is through a company like your own. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's just going to open that up even more and give people just an opportunity just to experience the true Canadian beers.
Yeah. So speaking of those Canadian beers, what are some that you normally recommend yourself when you're with friends who aren't that big into craft, but you're trying to like twist them? What are some beers that you kind of recommend?
So, I mean, you can kind of call me a beer geek, kind of. I mean, I'm not even afraid to say it, but what I normally do is a few of my friends know that I'm very passionate about my beers. So I look at what they're drinking. Obviously, I have been around with them, so I know what they like, what they don't like, kind of thing. And depending on what they like, usually more often than not, it's a light beer. Your generic kind of lagers, your ales, Coronas, Canadians, things like that. So I kind of ease them into it. But what I do strategically is I get them that nice light beer, and then I'll get maybe a lighter IPA, where it kind of adds an element of flavor beyond that like craft lager. This way, kind of gets them in the door, and then they can try to see if they like that extra, that extra body of flavor, that extra kind of hops or their malt. Come Christmas time, I kind of shoot for the stars on that one. I kind of give them straight to the stout. I was like, you know what, you got to try this. You got the eggnog there. It's fine. Just if you don't like the stout, just wash it down. But definitely try it. So there's, I think one of the key stouts that I've had where it was actually a partner out in Calgary. Actually, the top three stouts, I'll give you that, because I'm a big dark beer drinker personally. The top three would probably be, in no specific order, would be out of Rail Yard Brewing, their Nitro Stout. We had Red Bison's Brewery. It was their stout as well, out of Calgary. And then it was a brewery out of London, and it was their Winter Stout. And it was delicious, just delicious. I think the Winter Stout actually hit me in such a nice way because there was actually some like candy cane in there. So that was kind of nice. Still dark as a stout, but it just kind of had that like minty kind of flavor. It was just perfect for Christmas. So that's kind of my trick to kind of get my friends into it.
Yeah, I've had a couple of fantastic winter ales coming around winter time. You get that like nice little cinnamon with the ale, so those are always tasty. And like you said, lager is always whenever I'm going out somewhere and I see a lager on tap, that's the first one I grab, because lagers are a pain in the butt to brew. And if they get that right, they shouldn't have a problem brewing any of their other beers. And then switching somebody, like you said, a little bit of flavor. So something like Spearhead's 4-session IPA, it's just got that little bit of bitterness. It's not overpowering. It's not, a double or triple IPA with 100 IBU. It's got that nice little extra flavor to it.
Yeah, just a little kind of baby steps. You know what I mean? Just I don't want to lose them in the journey. I want them to kind of take that journey. So it's kind of like, hey, try this out and it won't kill you.
Yeah, you're not hanging a beer called like Palate Wrecker or anything like that, where it's going to be exactly. Here's a 200 IBU beer. Oh my God, I'm not used to all this flavor. I mean, I have a friend, he hates IPAs unless there's lactose, and then he loves them.
Oh, interesting.
So there's and so coming out of Burlington and BBCO, they make a lot of lactose-based IPAs, and you're drinking them and you're like, this is a 7% beer. There's no way, because I'm drinking this like it's water, like flavored water.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's
and you know what? I love to give credit to those breweries who are able to put, 7+, 8+, alcohol in there and have it go smooth, like, a 3 or 4% lager. It blows my mind, just the amount of craft that goes into that.
Yeah, exactly. Do you brew yourself?
No,
Okay.
I don't. I actually got a home brewing kit when I started the company from my friends and family. I made an honest attempt once and I butchered it very, very hard. And at that point, I realized I got to leave the actual craft of craft beer and that love for it to the professionals.
Yeah, I'm much better at drinking and promoting it than I am making it. I haven't tried, but just the whole concept of it's all cleaning and then it's a little bit of fun. I'm like, doesn't sound that
Which beer
great.
did you end up making?
I haven't made a beer myself yet.
Yeah.
I have had a friend's home brew. He stuck with it, ESB, so an English special bitter,
Okay.
and it was
Yeah.
well made, very malty. I'm like, your beer's fantastic, so I'll just drink his beer from now on.
Yeah, fair enough.
I know I'm going to miss something, or I'm going to mistime it, or
Right.
so I'm too worried. Maybe one day, the show is in talks with a couple other breweries about maybe making an anniversary beer for the show. So we'll see.
That'd
from
be
there.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Have you collabed as like Craft Tapp to yourselves go into a brewery and brew a beer specialty for your program?
No, we actually haven't done that yet. Obviously, that was to be honest with you, Carter, that was actually in our 2020 pipeline.
Okay.
Obviously, with COVID happening, it just shut everything down. And it just didn't seem fair to kind of collaborate. I really wanted to be part of like working with them and kind of just the element of experience. And obviously with the tough times everyone's kind of going through, the last thing I wanted to do is add another product into their kind of like menu and be like, hey, can you brew this? I don't know how it's going to go. I know things are tight right now, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So I just didn't feel right doing that. So
I mean, there is the All Together beer out there, which I think it's Other Half in the States. They gave a base recipe and they're like, here, brew this, but your proceeds go to like restaurant workers and stuff who've all lost their jobs and things like that. So yeah. And then
I like that.
There's another support beer coming out. I can't remember the name of it, but it's going to be Black is Beautiful in support of Black Lives Matter movement, where it'll be a base. They're giving out a base stout and then you improve upon the recipe, which is very nice.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear about these brewers stepping up and wanting diversity and helping out the community that they're part of. So
absolutely,
I love to hear that kind of stuff. I know you probably only see the customer's name, but does anything look famous to you in the customer list, or have you gotten any shout outs from, if you're based in Calgary, any Calgary Flames or Edmonton Oilers that you've seen maybe, or?
No, nothing yet. But I mean, I think our essence is obviously want to kind of get our names out there. But I think the entire premise of craft beer just kind of at the community level. So I mean, of course, it'd be nice if, Calgary Flames or Maple Leafs or what have you name dropped us or used our service. That'd be amazing. I'm not going to complain. But I mean, it's just nice to kind of get the community that normally gathers at the bar or at the tap room kind of together like this, and then just kind of explore across Canada. So we're happy here, but we wouldn't mind that name drop from a celebrity.
Any clients you're gunning for to have part of the thing, like any of the top new breweries in Canada type of thing?
Oh man, that's a great question. Yeah. There's a few breweries that we have in mind. One of them, I mean, we're trying to decide in terms of, the element of involvement of these breweries. We want them to obviously participate. We feel that they could bring a lot to the table. But in terms of, the breweries, the big ones are really, if they're super big, they have enough pull to do it themselves, truthfully. They tend to kind of not want to join us for fair reason. And if they're super big, they tend to be acquired really fast. So it's, we want to get close to the sun, but it's just, someone always kind of scoops it out. We're hoping to get one of the breweries. Obviously, I can't necessarily name drop yet, just because we're working with them.
Don't worry about that.
But we're working with a brewery right now and kind of going back in conversations. They're owned by someone fairly popular, and we're hoping that we can kind of close that and they'll be on there soon.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And I mean, you're still, your baby steps, you're in your terrible twos in a sense, 2020, and it's not a great 2020 at the moment. So who knows what's going to turn around if, Pfizer or one of those guys like, oh, by the way, we got a vaccine ready. So everybody go out and get ready for November. So when this is all said and done, any Beercations you want to go on?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to go to Europe. I actually had a couple of friends who told me that, obviously when things kind of calm down, they have a great beer scene. And I wanted to kind of take that trip through Belgium, through Denmark, through London, and just explore, explore, explore. Obviously, the rumor on the street from my friends, I don't know if they're just kind of buttering me up, but apparently it's beer is cheaper than water or cheaper than Coke out there or something like that. So it's just something that they got me when they told me about the scene there, and I was kind of slightly aware aware of it, but when they highlighted that a little bit more, that's exactly where I would go. As soon as all this is over, the vaccine comes out,
Yeah.
I'm going to Europe.
For Beercations, I'm the same way. It's Europe and it's South Africa. South Africa has, from what I've seen, an awesome beer scene, and the price of a pint is $2 Canadian right now. So,
wow. Okay, yeah. Might maybe a one entire big trip at that
so
point.
Yeah, it's mostly Johannesburg and Cape Town, but I'm definitely thinking of going. I saw there's an actual documentary about the beer scene in South Africa. I always recommend you check it out because it makes you go like, I want to try that guy's beer. I want to try that person's beer. I want to try those ladies' beers. So it's very good. So speaking of diversity, do you notice a lot of women joining your product, or is it mostly guys like probably myself?
No, actually, some of the people that we work with have been women, and it's been good to see it, and I'm super excited because now, some of the owners, obviously, or a good majority of them, tend to be male, but a lot of the women are kind of on the ground, kind of boots on the ground. It's actually, we're working with them more so, kind of getting the approval. Yeah, maybe comes from the top, if you will, sure. But when it comes to orders or their dashboard and putting everything marketing, it's actually we're working very closely. So it has to be female, and it's actually a good mix because we're able to kind of bounce ideas. One of the things that I was very, very keen about and adamant about when creating this was encompassing, and I'm sure you've gotten it, encompassing the whole element of community, especially in the craft scene. So this isn't like my company and this is my way or the highway. It's this is what I've created. I've gone through the grunt work of the legalities, and now I'm working with the brews to see, is this what you want? Like how can we make this better, and how can we help you? How can what are some marketing ways that we can kind of get you guys out there? And then to your point about the collaboration beers, like what are clever ways that we can work together and make something happen? And a lot of those ideas actually come from the women working there. So I'm super, super appreciative just with the diversity of ideas that come from there.
Excellent. So yeah, that's great to hear about the diversity and, growing to me, craft beer should be all inclusive. Unfortunately, when you go to most tap rooms, the guys who look like myself with little notepads writing everything down, and being on Untappd, I'm guilty of Untappd myself. It's like my beer Pokemon. I'm trying to drink them all in a sense. So that's for me, but I'm not like has slight hints of caramel with it. No, it's like, it tastes good. I get caramel and it's really this helpful. So
exactly. It's like, yeah, I got you kind of thing.
Yeah. Within the last 5 years, I think there's been 25 new breweries in Quebec. I don't know what Alberta's scene is like. I know Ontario, Toronto alone, there's 53 craft brewers in Toronto.
I know, obviously, the Alberta craft beer scene was one of the reasons why we started this, to be completely honest. And I think we're sitting at about, might be a little out of date here, but about 90 breweries across the province. So yeah, I mean, it's an exponential scene, and we're just kind of hoping that we can be part of the movement. I mean, similar to you and the whole community vibe.
I'm assuming it's mostly Calgary, Edmonton, probably Red Deer.
Yeah, there's definitely a good chunk out of, like, obviously the big cities like Calgary, Edmonton, and then I would say probably say about a good third, if you will, is probably scattered throughout kind of the rest of the province for sure.
It's been 20 years since I've been there. Do you know of any in Banff?
In Banff, yes. So there is Banff Ave Brewing, and right before Banff, there's actually Canmore. So it's just a drive into it, and they're actually one of our partners is there, Grizzly Paw. Amazing beer. We were able to kind of, I think the first time I've ever tasted a pumpkin beer. It was part of their Halloween kind of specials, one of the jack-o'-lantern. Oh, it was just delicious.
Yeah.
Cardamom, cinnamon, just beautiful.
Yeah, I love those Halloween. I love those pumpkin beers when they come around, because it's right at the season where the weather starts shifting and you're like, oh, I need that little extra cinnamon and a little bit of yam or pumpkinness to it. So yeah, I mean, two of my 5 favorite pumpkin beers are here in Montreal. So it's
Which brewery? No, I mean,
there's Saint Ambroise, which is your big one. It's just their back terrace is open till they have this giant patio. For the rest of the world. In Quebec, it's terrace, and it's gigantic. Right now, it's reopened with social distancing, obviously, but it's usually open till October, and it's right when that weather shifts, they start pumping it out on their back terrace. So I'm just sitting there in a hoodie, drinking pumpkin beers all night long. So,
oh man,
yeah,
I think you're absolutely right. I think you nailed it on the head. I think that transition that the breweries have it on with the pumpkin is they've nailed it on the head with that. Just because it kind of gives it an extra push. So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and most of the craft guys too, they know the transition phase where it's like, oh, we'll do pumpkin and barley wines now. We'll do, your tangerine or your orange IPAs like before the summer comes. And so these guys know, and I'm sure you have, or if you don't have them yet, I'm sure you're going to come up with seasonal boxes as well for your subscription-based service. So yeah. Any major complaints from anybody yet? I know you're right. Like, it's rare you're going to get a broken beer, but from what I've seen in your FAQs, you covered all your bases. So to me, you shouldn't be getting any complaints, but it is the internet. Obviously, you're going to get complaints.
Yeah. I mean, we've gotten some complaints about broken beer. I think out of the 2 months that we've been up now, I think we've maybe had 1 broken beer, maybe 2. So it hasn't been that bad. In our subscription club, obviously at the, our kind of initial phases, if you will. Yeah, we had, just the learning process. But since then, our breakage has been very, very low, which, kind of speaking to the community, everyone's been respectful of that. Obviously, people are, understand that, hey, it does break. But, we take care of that. We kind of make sure that, we cover our basis with the right points, and we kind of take next steps and escalate it accordingly. But I think the biggest complaint has been shipping.
Okay.
And that's something that has been so receptive with our customers once they understand why. We ship through Canada Post.
Yeah.
So obviously Canada Post is doing an amazing job, kind of working through their backlog. They're actually doing Christmas hours, so they're working weekends right now. And so I respect what they're doing. I respect and I really do commend what they're doing, and putting themselves out there. So once we kind of relay that to our customers, that issue is a non-issue at that point.
So what's next for Craft Tapp? Expansion, besides obviously gaining more client database basis for yourself, where's your vision for the company?
Our vision. That's a great question. So I think we obviously, to your point, you kind of nailed it. We want more people in terms of customers as well as breweries, but we want to kind of get in there with the element of collaboration beers, right? Beers where, we're kind of working off playbooks of some of the large tech companies, very, very notable ones. We kind of want to get the collaboration beers coming where they're only available through our platform. So things like that. I wonder if you see my drift where I'm going with the originals, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're kind of working with that. And I think the biggest, as I mentioned, is shipping times. And one of the things that we're actively working on is shipping prices. So we're kind of going back to the drawing board. We got the framework done, and now we're going back to our partners at these provinces and saying, hey, listen, we want to take this the next step. We know there's a lot of regulatory hurdles to kind of get through, but it's going to be, we truly want to become the Amazon of local Canadian alcohol. And the last thing we want is for someone like you or me as a customer to get on the website and be turned off by the fact that shipping is, $20 or $30, and it's going to take a week. We don't want that. And so we're working within what we can with our partners to reduce shipping time, reduce costs, and all that is part of our vision to now make Craft Tapp the next Amazon, especially here in Canada. There's not that many big tech Goliaths here in Canada, whereas California, I think, has more than Canada, right? Just in itself. So
yeah.
We're going big here at this point, and I think something like this is so monumental because it challenges a lot of the customs and regulation and acts. And I think it's time that we do it. And now we're just aiming to hit it out of the ballpark with this one.
Yeah, we need craft beer prime minister. That's what we need. Fix all those rules. Because
Exactly.
I don't remember, I think it was 2016, but a guy from Quebec was driving into New Brunswick with beer, and the RCMP is like, dude, you can't. This is too much. So here's like this giant fine. And I had signed up for the Beer Across Canada. There was a petition going about Beer Across Canada. Obviously, the provinces are just like, yeah, you only have like 100,000 signatures. This doesn't matter for us because we need our tax money more than anything else. But make a universal alcohol tax. I think they have something like that in the US where some states are cheaper than others, but there is like a general, their federal tax is a lot less than Canada's is. Because I think it's 45% the cost of a beer is tax in Canada. So that's something we gotta.
It's steep.
Yeah, that's something that has to be worked on. But in time, craft is still a young man. It's young when you think about it. We're, as in Canada, we've been around almost 200 years, and craft beer's been around 20, 25. Realistically, in the limelight it has now, it's 5 years with the popularity of it. So
yeah, you're 100% right. And I think that, to your point about the US, I think sometimes, people outside the craft beer community don't see that, we have a tenth of the population. Like the state of California has more people than Canada as a country. And, it's going to take some time. You know what I mean? Like it's going to take some time, but, to your point, it's only gotten popular in the last truly 5 years with the kind of the proliferation of all these breweries. And with COVID pushing more local into the limelight, it's just going to now drive that momentum further. So I 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's a lot of red tape that we got to get around. So I got no other questions for you at this time. Cool. Let everybody know where they could find you.
Yeah. So it's been a pleasure. First of all, Carp, thank you for having me. Everyone who's watching, hope you guys enjoyed the segment. And please give us and show us some support. Please visit crafttapp.ca. That's 2 T's and 2 P's. Come on in and just take a look at Canada's beer fridge. We have breweries from all across Canada, and we focus exclusively on local, both the subscription and the nationwide shop. So either one is, up your alley, feel free. And if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to contact us.
Instagram, Twitter, anything like that?
Craft Tapp Inc. across the board, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, those 3, Craft Tapp Inc. And you can kind of keep up with us for some promo codes. We have something coming down the pipeline for Canada Day, so stay tuned for that. And let's just say that we're going to kind of keep it the true Canadian way and just get more people into this whole craft community.
Perfect. So you heard us here, Canadian watchers. Come check these guys out. We're going to add all the links in the show notes at the bottom of the YouTube channel as well. You could find us, allbeerinside.com is the website. On the right-hand side, mentioning Amazon, there's an amazon.ca link. Whatever you buy on amazon.ca, the show gets a portion for equipment for the show, and we take some money out of Jeff Bezos. He's got enough, so our show needs a little bit for more. So we could talk to Irshad and other people in the craft beer industry in Canada and expanding outside of Canada once it's safe to do so. At All Beer Inside on all the social media where you can always find us. As I like to say at the end of all shows, drink craft, not crap. Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
I appreciate it today.